everyone, welcome to my channel. This is episode 1 of FPV for Beginners. This is a series of videos where I'm going to get you, the person who's never flown a drone before, or maybe you've flown like a camera drone. That's all you've been flying is camera drones. I'm going to get you into the FPV hobby, which is exhilarating and a lot of fun. Now, if you watch every single video in this series, I think there's going to be 10 of them, then you're going to know exactly what to do and you're going to be in the hobby having a great old time. Let's get on with episode number 1, where I explain to you the difference between, well, a camera drone and an FPV drone. A lot of people mix that up. Here we go. Now, one of the reasons I'm making this series of videos is because there's so much confusion out there about FPV hobby and camera drone hobby. And I'll show you. Here's an example of questions I receive on a daily basis. So this is a GoPro Hero 7. I receive an awful lot of questions from people who say, I just got myself a GoPro Hero 7 or a Hero 8. Pretty excited. Now, can you tell me which drones use a GoPro? Well, unfortunately, that is the FPV hobby. You have to get into the FPV hobby because only the FPV hobby uses GoPros. You know, we did have a Karma drone, but that thing there was a total failure. And that was the only one that used GoPros. The next question is, I just bought myself a nice little drone to get started with, and it cost me about $120, $150, maybe even $200, like this one here, the Bug 7. And you know what? I want to buy myself some FPV goggles to use with the drone. Well, these FPV goggles cost about $500. You wouldn't buy $500 to use on like a $120 drone. That's just ridiculous. And the other thing is that FPV goggles are called FPV goggles because they are for the FPV drone hobby, not for that cheap little camera drone you bought. It's for the FPV hobby. Now, if I had to compare the camera drone hobby to the FPV hobby, I would compare it as such, using this analogy. The camera drone hobby is like your family car. Every member of your family who's of the age of 16 or older can probably drive the car, taking a small test, and, you know, after a while you get experience and you drive better. But it doesn't take a lot of skill to drive it for the first time. Most people can sit behind the steering wheel and get going with no problem. Not true on the FPV hobby. This is like learning how to drive a motorcycle. So if you're going to learn how to drive a motorcycle, you can't just take your hands off the handlebars. You really have to pay attention. You have the clutch, you have the gas, you have the brake. There's a lot to learn. So the skill level for a camera drone is level 1, the easiest. This is the easiest drone to fly in the world. If you buy a camera drone, easiest drone to fly. People ask me that all the time. I need a beginner level camera drone. Well, they're all beginner level because they're all easy to fly. The skill on a camera drone is being able to operate this camera, knowing a bit about photography and operating that camera while flying the drone. That is the skill. But to get this in the air and just fly right off the bat, you know, take it out of the box, charge up the batteries, go fly. You're flying. Not at all the same with the FPV hobby. This takes, well, if that's skill level 1, this is skill level 10. Say it's 10 out of 10. This is 10 out of 10 skill level. You need an awful lot of skill and knowledge to fly an FPV drone. And if you're not careful, you can poke your eye out pretty darn quick. So let me tell you a bit more about these two hobbies. So the camera drone hobby comes in a box. That's why it's considered beginner, because you can go to your local store, buy this box, and everything is in there for you to fly. Everything's in this thing. It's pretty darn sweet. So in here, you get a drone. You get a controller so you can operate the drone. You get a battery. You get a charging unit so you can charge up the battery. And you get some spare props. The only thing you have to supply with all of this to fly your camera drone is your cell phone or a tablet so that you can run an app and see the display. So you can see a camera drone is perfect for beginners. Now let me show you what you get when you buy an FPV drone. Well, to start off, you get a box, and inside that box you get a drone, and this is basically it. This is all you get. You see I have a spot up here for a GoPro. You don't get a GoPro. There is a little camera down here in the front, but that's for the pilot to see where you're flying. So that means if you want to do some cinematic flying, well, you're gonna have to get yourself a camera to put on the front to actually film. You're gonna need a radio to control it, and you can buy any radio you want. Let me just plop that down here, some someplace. You're going to have to understand how LiPo batteries work and buy yourself some LiPo batteries for your drone. So I'll just plop that down there. You're going to have to be able to charge those LiPo batteries, so you're going to need a charger. Here's one of many chargers you can buy. Let me just plop that on there. So there's a charger. What else do you need? Oh, you're going to need FPV goggles so you can see where you're flying. So let me plop that over here. You're going to have, this is all separate stuff you're going to have to buy. And you're going to have to buy yourself lots and lots and lots and lots of propellers. So here's a pile of props up here because you're going to break your props. So there we go. So now you're thinking, well, the FPV drone hobby seems quite expensive. I have to buy all that. Here's the difference. If you have a, can I lift this up? That's going to go flying. And there it goes. If you have a camera drone, so I'm going to buy one camera drone a year. This drone, let's say this drone costs $1,000 because camera drones are pretty expensive. So for $1,000, I get a camera drone, right? So I buy it 1 year. Say the second year I want to buy another camera drone. Well, when I buy the second one, it's going to cost me $1,000 again, and I'm going to get more batteries, but the batteries won't work in each drone. They're specific to the drone you bought. The props for the new drone I buy won't work in the old drone. The charger to charge the batteries won't work in the new drone. It only works in the drone it came with. The remote controller won't work in the new drone. It only works with the drone it came with. So I'm buying everything double. You see where I'm going with this? So that's $1,000 one year, $1,000 the next. And if every year I bought a drone, it's $1,000. In the FPV hobby, totally different. So all this stuff on my table, you buy it once. That's it. You just buy it once. So there's a big investment to start. So let me give you an example. This is a radio. It's going to cost you about anywhere from $150 to $200 for a radio. So chalk that up. Your drone itself, let me get here. I won't get to the drone. Your GoPro is a big expense, but if you have an old GoPro Hero 5 or 6 or something like that, you can use those. So you can get a GoPro for, you know, like $100, $200. FPV goggles are all over the map, but there goes more stuff flying. But FPV goggles, as soon as you buy them, just like your GoPro, well, as soon as you buy them, you never buy them again. So I've had these for a long time. These are my FPV goggles. They cost me a lot when I first bought them because these are top of the line when I bought them. They were $500. They're not $500 anymore, but you can buy FPV goggles from $100 all the way up to $500. So batteries, I buy all mine at a hobby store, or I buy them when they're on sale on Amazon. I probably have about 50 different batteries of all sizes and shapes and different capacities. So batteries, I've bought these over the years, and I can just keep using them in every single drone. It doesn't matter. What else do I have down here? Chargers, battery chargers right here. Battery chargers will range anywhere from $25 up to like $100, maybe a little bit over $100. It's a one-time expense. As soon as you have one, you can charge any battery all the way up to a 6-cell. Props, you can buy any type of props you want. You don't go look for props specific to the drone you bought. You just buy them by inches. They all come in sizes, you know, 5-inch, 4-inch, 3-inch, 2.5-inch, 2-inch. And you can buy them with 2 blades or 3 blades. I'll explain that in a future episode, why there's a difference in, you know, 2 blades and 3 blades. And then you get the angle on the prop. Do you want to push more wind, less wind, cut in for corners? I'll explain that in a future video. It's so cool because you can customize these drones really well. And here, let's get rid of the props here. And down here, I've got the drone itself. Like, this is a fully configured drone. This is around the $200 US mark, and this is a big drone, and this is one of the top of the line, so you can see it's not very expensive. So if every year I was buying a drone, remember I said with the camera drone, $1,000 a year, $1,000 a year, and nothing works with each other? Whereas in the FPV hobby, everything works. So everything I had the year before will work with what I buy the year later. So if every year I bought a drone in the FPV hobby, well, the first year, big expense to get the radio, the goggles, everything, the batteries. But then the second year, well, I just buy a drone. So the second year, it's only going to cost me maybe $200 to buy a new drone if I want a really nice one. Let me tell you a few other popular differences between a camera drone and an FPV drone. Flight time on a camera drone. Well, the flight time on this could be like 30 minutes on a camera drone with the batteries because it's a different type of technology. The power that goes to fly this is very minimal. That's why these are not very fast. You can get them going fast in a straight line, but what use is that? If I took this battery and I stuck it in this drone, well, it wouldn't be powerful enough because it's got a low C rating. I'll explain that in a future video. But this drone will take all the power and energy out of this battery in 4 minutes compared to it takes 30 minutes on this, because this just goes insane. It uses every ounce of power it can get. And I've already not mentioned there's no GPS or sensors in these things, no obstacle avoidance. They're very basic. It's all up to you, the pilot, to fly it. Another big difference is if I fly this from 100 feet in the air and crash it straight into the ground, it's probably going to break into many pieces and just be destroyed. A FPV drone is made out of carbon fiber. It is designed to crash into the ground multiple times. This drone here, you can crash it as many times as you want. You're not going to break it. That's what is great about the FPV hobby. And you watch anybody who flies FPV, we try to fly through tight little spaces. We all smash into cement and metal things, and well, we might have to change our props. That's about all that breaks. When it comes to flight range between the two, it all depends on what radio and FPV receiver you stick inside your FPV drone will determine your range. So you can see from this video that the FPV hobby is very different from the beginner camera drone hobby. If you have been flying camera drones for, the last year and you want to get into something really exhilarating, you're going to want to get into the FPV hobby. That's exactly why I got into it. I started out with camera drones and I moved over to this hobby. An FPV drone is designed for you, the pilot, to feel like you're in a fighter aircraft. So you're seeing out the little camera in the front here. That's for the pilot. You see where you're flying and you have no restrictions because you don't have sensors, GPS, and all these other things to stop you from doing things that a camera drone will stop you from doing. So I hope my little video gave you a good understanding of the difference between the two hobbies of, camera drone and FPV drone. Most of you watching are probably in the camera drone hobby because that's the most popular, because it is a beginner hobby. If you want to get into FPV, it's the rebel motorcycle hobby. So yeah, get into it. It's a lot of fun. And I will say this from experience, the camera drone hobby, when I went flying camera drones, very rare did I find other people to fly drones with, because honestly, if you've ever tried to fly a camera drone and fly a camera drone with someone else or a group of people, it's kind of boring, isn't it? Yeah, nothing exciting. But in the FPV hobby, this is a very social event. There's an awful lot of people who fly FPV, and if you fly FPV together, say you have 2 or 5 of you together, you can do races, you can do freestyle together. The most fun I have with FPV is I love doing a chase. I will either chase people's planes or I chase other quads, and you try to go faster and overtake the other quad. Try it in the forest. It's pretty wild because if you do something wrong, you're going to smash into a tree. I tell you, the FPV hobby is the social hobby out there when it comes to drones. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully episode number 1 of FPV for Beginners has given you an understanding of, well, the camera drone world and the FPV drone world. In the FPV drone world, there's actually a fine line growing, a separation between digital and analog. Yeah, really. So even in the FPV hobby, we have two other hobbies growing. And it all comes down to, are you a digital guy or are you an analog guy? And well, in episode number 2, we're going to take a look at that. So stay tuned for that episode. But for now, I say if you enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in episode number 2. Bye.